Hi, and welcome to SpondyCast, where we bring together the best medical minds, thought leaders, scientists, patients, and caregivers to inform and inspire the spondylitis community. I'm your host, Jill Miller, living my best spa life, knowing that how we meet today has the power to change everything going forward. Hi, and welcome to SpondyCast. Our guest today is Dr. Steve Lee, who studied psychology at the University of Western Ontario, later studying biology and political science at Cal State. He earned his Doctor of Osteopath degree from Western University of Health Sciences and completed his internal medicine residency and rheumatology fellowship at Loma Linda University Medical Center. He also later completed a fellowship in integrative medicine at the Andrew Weil Center at the University of Arizona. He is currently a clinical rheumatologist at Kaiser Permanente in Southern California, where he teaches students and residents at Kaiser. He also serves as volunteer clinical faculty at Western University, Loma Linda University, University of California, Riverside, and California University of Science and Medicine. He is also graciously a member of the Spondylitis Association of America's Medical Scientific Advisory Board. So, Dr. Lee, welcome. I'm very excited to talk to you today a little bit about how integrative medicine folds into treatment of spondyloarthritis. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for that nice introduction, Jill, and happy to spend a few moments with you and all of our patients out there. Thank you.
Excellent. I'm going to pause. They're telling me that your earbuds are scraping on your shirt and we can hear them in the background.
Okay.
Okay. All right, good. So we'll go first question out of the gate. So one of my biggest questions for you is, as a rheumatologist and internal medicine doctor, you later added integrative medicine to your education. I'm curious what inspired that, and did it have anything to do with being raised in South Korea or Canada? What inspired that as you got into rheumatology?
Well, that's a great question, and I thought long and hard about pursuing this extra educational path, and I wish I could say it was something a little bit deeper, more meaningful, like my heritage or the countries I've lived in. But really, it's just to my main motivation was just trying to learn what patients are asking about. What are patients trying to find out? And I've come across so many patients. I don't think it's a Southern California thing either, but patients want to know, what else is there? You've given me a diagnosis. You're helping me explain why I'm having these symptoms, but don't just throw a drug at me. You know, we know drugs work. Medications have moved at light speed in the past 20 years or so, especially in the realm of rheumatology. But what else can I do at home? Is there something I'm missing, whether it's the diet or an herb, a supplement, or is it something I'm not doing? Is there something I'm doing to myself that might be contributing to this? And one of my mentors / colleagues is a wonderful clinician at UCLA, and she had completed this 2-year fellowship at the University of Arizona at the Andrew Weil Center, and strongly encouraged me to continue the learning process. And I thought, boy, isn't that what medicine's all about? Continuing to learn and expand our knowledge and seeing what patients are expecting out of us. And I was lucky enough to qualify and be granted a wonderful scholarship at the Andrew Weil Center. And it was almost a no-brainer, a scholarship to go continue learning and provide some of the services and information that patients are asking. But yeah, that's really, it's a patient-centric motivation that motivated me to do all this extra training in integrative medicine.
That's fantastic. So for people listening who've never encountered integrative medicine or integrative wellness, what are the components of integrative wellness?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And many patients ask me that when I bring up the notion, and I don't think there's one easy definition that encompasses what integrative medicine means to every single clinician and every single patient. But I did mention, or I quoted the World Health Organization on a previous endeavor through the Spondylitis Association of America, and let me quote that the World Health Organization definition of health is, and here's a quote: health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And that was a quote that the World Health Organization made in April of 1948. And I think that's as good of a description as any that we can expand upon. That it's physical wellness. I think everybody would agree on that. But it's that other very important facet, the mental wellness or psychological well-being, and then the social health that's so important too. Humans are social people by nature, and I think we're healthier when we're around loved ones and supportive folks, and even, dare I say, inspirational people. And that's what I try to bring to the table at every patient visit: a little sense of optimism and ongoing improvement strategies for a patient's health. And that's the kind of the general approach, I think, to integrative medicine. But there thereafter, I kind of explore with the patient what's interesting to you. Is it anything about nutrition? Is it anything about supplements? Is it other things beyond medicine? Is it manual medicine? Is it acupuncture? Is it chiropractic? Is it even spiritual? I tend to be very careful with that one. We never want to offend anybody or overstep our boundaries, but many people do want to speak about the spiritual health that may actually influence their physical health and emotional well-being. There are also other facets like sleep. Many patients complain that they don't sleep very well, and I'll acknowledge that there are nights when I have some challenges sleeping too, because of various factors, or reading the news, or eating unhealthy, or rehearsing for a wonderful podcast or an information session with the Spondylitis Association. Various different things may influence our sleep, even caffeine. And I try to adjust my conversation to sort of fit what's important to the patient. But yeah, those are just a few elements of integrative medicine. Even such things like Oriental medicine, or traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, it's known as. Even things like Ayurveda, which is the ancient Indian art of healing, and many of these principles were covered during my integrative medicine fellowship. But yeah, everything's on the table: exercise, even deep breathing. So many different facets to integrative medicine. And by the way, the word integrative is very purposeful. Most integrative practitioners don't use the term complementary or alternative, because it suggests that um, these strategies may not be the main strategy, or they may be alternative strategies. But integrating these strategies into traditional medical practice, I think, is probably the most appropriate use of many of these therapies and strategies for optimizing our health, be it any patient, but specifically for the rheumatic patient.
Sure. And I think I remember having an experience. I turned to Ayurveda for a while,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that was life changing for my own spondylitis. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the idea of integrating it alongside traditional medicine or Western medicine was really helpful. Uh, I, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a big proponent of integrative medicine. So let me ask you this: are there any specific complementary therapies or complementary Okay, we're not going to use complimentary. But are there any specific things that may have a positive impact on spa that you've seen over the years?
Yeah, definitely. There are several areas of focus that I try to encourage patients. Number one is sleep. And this is a little bit of a chicken or an egg type of scenario because when we don't sleep well, I think everybody's experienced this. Anybody who's gone through lots of school or studying for exams know how we feel after pulling an all-nighter or not getting a restful night's sleep. And I think that plays into our health. And I personally have noticed a lot of different health detriments when we don't get regular uh, deep, restful sleep. And unfortunately, a lot of our spondylitis patients, because of the nature of the condition and the stiffness and the nighttime pain that's very common with the condition, they don't feel well when they don't sleep well. When they don't sleep well, they don't feel well. And then when they don't feel well, they don't sleep well. And it's really a quite a vicious cycle. And that's where I'll employ certain strategies. Something so simple as not eating late at night, avoiding caffeine later in the day, and these are things that most people would come to the realization, but may not realize that they're doing it. It may be an evening soda. It might be alcohol at night that may interfere with their sleep. There's also this very important concept that I failed to mention earlier when I mentioned some of the broader context of integrative medicine, but it's this notion of mindfulness training. And there's a whole area of curriculum that's been developed over the past few decades, and it has the acronym of MBSR, or mindfulness-based stress reduction. And these are strategies including body imagery, deep breathing, that can help us put us into a deep, restful sleep that doesn't involve drugs or even supplements, anything like that. And there's also a supplement. It's actually a hormone. It's called melatonin, and most people have heard about that. And that's a strategy that we use. That's not really a drug, even though it comes as a pill form. And at the fellowship, they trained us to start slow and gradually increase. And most of the time, I recommend a specific dose of melatonin. It's 0.3 milligrams at night. And by improving sleep, it again tends to break that cycle of factors that can contribute to inflammation and well-being. And those of us, again, who've recovered from a few bad nights of sleep and have gotten a couple good nights of sleep, I think we'll all agree that we do feel much, much better using that approach. Another area that I have encouraged patients with spondylitis is deep breathing. And because of the nature of the inflammation of the spine, it's important. I think most physical therapists and most rheumatologists agree that maintaining good flexibility and rib cage excursion when we have deep breaths is something beneficial just for aeration and maintaining some range of motion with the lungs, and even a little bit of postural improvement. And Dr. Andrew Weil at the University of Arizona is a big proponent of deep breathing exercises. There are many YouTube videos where Dr. Weil, W-E-I-L, demonstrates some of these, and I do these myself. I may do it at weird times of the day, usually not in front of a patient, but I find it's actually very relieving of stress, and whether it's because of oxygenation or just this rhythmic pattern or putting the body in a little bit of shall I say balance, I think it's very, very helpful for me. But those are two, and we can maybe talk about some of the nutritional components later. But I'll save that for maybe later on in our interview.
Okay. Uh, one of the interesting things about breathing I've been playing with is because we, as patients with ankylosing spondylitis, tend to really need to rely on our core to support our back. And I've been playing a little bit lately with deep breathing for improved core engagement, which
Mm-hmm.
is a really interesting one that I think is useful, but just getting rid of even just the breathing to get rid of some of the things that we all feel or that people
Mm-hmm.
feel. Have you explored, and I don't know, this may be a curveball, how does water play into being hydrated, play into our outcomes?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I have to acknowledge a little bit of um, scientific ignorance on that. I haven't seen any studies looking at that very important topic of hydration and the health of our spondyloarthritis patients. But I mean, a lot of our patients do have other health challenges that come along with their spondyloarthritis. Maybe it's a little bit of kidney irritation because of lots of medication use in the past. Some of our patients have gout. And I think staying well hydrated are strategies to try to limit some of those other factors that may be contributing. I think it's just healthier to drink plenty of water and
Sure.
stay hydrated. Yeah, but yeah, I'd be interested if there were any research on that. But yeah, it's something I do stress, and maybe let me parlay that discussion into the nutrition component, um, because what we put in our bodies, of course, also influences our health and well-being. And unfortunately, in America, of course, this obesity epidemic that's been publicized a great deal is a huge public health concern. And I do think that our spondylitis patients have greater challenges when they take in extra calories or are not able to get the exercise that is recommended when their body mass index or their weight relative to their height does go up. There are obviously mechanical stresses that occur on the body. And there was a great study done out of UCSF, University of California, San Francisco, a few years ago that suggested that mechanical load by way of manual labor seems to result in progression of some of the changes of spondyloarthritis. Also, there's a great body of work suggesting that the medicines tend not to work as well when patients are overweight or obese. And those are some of the very clear suggestions that maintaining a good, healthy weight is, of course, important for spondyloarthritis. But also the nutritional factors. There's a whole litany of work done on eating sort of whole foods rather than the processed types of foods as a way of maintaining an anti-inflammatory food strategy. And again, at the University of Arizona, they have a wonderful chart that lists some of the components of a diet that's considered anti-inflammatory. The American College of Rheumatology is also in the middle of publishing guidelines on integrative medicine options. Now, that's for the rheumatoid arthritis patient, but I think we can also translate that or apply that to any of our patients that have inflammatory conditions. And there is a summary on the American College of Rheumatology's website right now. It's a summary chart that promotes one particular diet, and it's the Mediterranean style diet. And that's one of these diets that it's high in vegetables, it's high in nuts and beans and legumes, and low on saturated fat and a lot of meat products. It's also heavy on foods that are thought to be anti-inflammatory, like olive oil. The shells on seeds are thought to have an anti-inflammatory component called lignan, Lignan. But yeah, nutrition, I think, goes hand in hand with hydration, about under the umbrella of what do we put in our body that can help promote an anti-inflammatory environment.
Right. And I think you have talked about the challenges too of when someone, excuse me, when someone with a chronic disease is maybe doesn't have the energy to cook and do all these things, simple ways to continue to have a healthy diet, which might be being very simple, fresh vegetables, things that don't require a lot of preparation or a lot of chopping. I know a lot of people have trouble chopping when they have arthritic conditions. I think the diet is really a wonderful thing for people to explore. So I'm going to move off that topic for a minute and talk about just a little bit. Are there times when patients don't buy in or maybe misunderstand an integrative treatment approach?
Yeah, I think that does happen for sure, and I think a lot of patients may have the notion that these are um, uh, concepts that are not rooted in hard science, and there's some, I think, in some cases, healthy skepticism for some of these approaches. There's also a little bit of a hesitation. Um, Gosh, I don't like it when my doctor tells me not to eat something I like. And there are those days, today being a Monday when we're doing this interview, that I did not have time to pack a lunch, and I did hit a fast food joint near the hospital here. And I mean, it's cheap, quick, easy, convenient. And I think all of us fall into that little bit of a trap. But you're right. How am I going to do this? Can I afford to do this? How inconvenient are these things going to be? Most of what I encourage with patients are things that they can do, though. I would never tell a patient, I'm currently sitting here in Fontana, I wouldn't tell them, hey, go see an expensive acupuncturist on day one. I wouldn't ask them to go visit the Whole Foods market or other market that might be a little bit out of their price range. We have a very humble community out here where I serve. But it's a conversation that I think that once I bring up some of the reasonable areas that should be realistic with each individual patient, that there is frequently some buy-in, and yeah, let's do these things on top of the medications. And I think most patients are willing to do additive types of therapies. And I, there may be a little bit of a question mark in their heads, but ultimately, I think most people believe in some of these very healthy strategies that have been tested and have been used in other cultures and different settings for a very, very long time.
Do you recommend that people track changes if they decide to change diet? Do you recommend that they track any differences they're feeling over time?
Yeah, that's a really good question too. I one of my principles is to try to keep things simple, and life is so busy. I think journaling or tracking symptoms and doing food journals, I don't think that's wrong. But I think so many people, again, in Southern California, have so many things going on. I try to keep the larger picture, and I'm looking at a diagram of the anti-inflammatory food pyramid, and there are many different topics in here: fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes, seafood, omega-3 fatty acids, even teas and some supplements. But I'm just trying to picture a patient that's working full time, trying to raise a family, and meal planning and making large charts and following these things. I don't discourage it, but I try to encourage patients just to keep things simple and lean towards these types of diets or strategies. And then let's see you at follow-up, and then we'll track how the symptoms are. We'll see how the lab tests have maybe perhaps responded. Once again, in combination with the medical treatments that we've been using.
And I expect you get patients who want to continue the path if the lab tests come back differently.
Yeah, and we don't always go 100% on blood tests, but it's very encouraging for especially visual patients when they see that their inflammation markers have fallen, or if their anemia has improved, their liver tests have improved with some of the changes that they've made, be it weight loss, be it some nutritional supplements, be it a healthier diet regimen, exercise, a leaner body mass. I think those are all really good things to measure that we can do in the clinic typically.
And when you see a new patient or a newly diagnosed patient, would the first consult or first couple consults differ from seeing a traditional rheumatologist who doesn't have integrative as a background?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, so many of my colleagues do amazing things. I like to add this extra little slice of service if patients are eager to learn about it. I may bring up the notion, I'll listen carefully, and if a patient sort of invites me in, if they say, hey, what about my diet? That'll be my cue to maybe bring in a little diagram of the anti-inflammatory food pyramid, these strategies. If they tell me, hey, this is bothering my sleep, I may ask them, well, what ways do you think your sleep can be improved? And I basically try to listen to their ideas and what they're open to, certainly at the first visit, but even at the second and third visit, if sleep is something that's important to them, or nutrition, or what can I do at home myself? Are there any types of physical therapeutic interventions that I can do at home? I don't have time for physical therapy, but what can I do? I might suggest something like deep breathing exercises and refer them to some of these easy to access YouTube videos from Dr. Andrew Weil. But yeah, it's more of a listening and a responding to a patient's wishes and what they're open to.
Goes back to that patient-centric design, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Supplements are often talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Are there specific supplements that you might recommend, or are there some that would be best practice for someone with ankylosing spondylitis to take a look at?
Yeah, and this is a question that frequently comes up in the clinic. And unfortunately, the world of supplements is not as rigid because there are different rules that apply with the FDA as compared to the pharmaceutical therapies that we recommend. A lot of what we go by as far as evidence for effectiveness are relatively small studies, a lot of uncontrolled trials. And there's certainly a lot of anecdotes that I will bring up to the patient. But my principle of supplements and nutritional additives is this: that they shouldn't hurt. And if a patient has the resources and willingness to try certain types of nutritional or dietary supplements, then the ones that I recommend typically are things that most patients have heard about. The Ayurvedic principle of nutrition and certain herbs and supplements. The most famous is turmeric, and this is the active ingredient is called curcumin, and this is derived from the root of a plant, and it's thought to have anti-inflammatory components and may even have some anti-cancer components. Now, once again, the evidence for this is not highly rigid and as extensive as it is for medications. I do recommend omega-3 fatty acids, and I think most of our cardiology colleagues will agree on that. There seems to be some anti-inflammatory component of omega-3 with respect to joints and also pertaining to the heart, and these seem to be heart healthy. And that's another point, is that even if these types of interventions may not dramatically reduce a patient's inflammation and their musculoskeletal pain, there are other effects that are very positive, like with the heart, like with diabetes or weight. And that's why I do encourage these types of products, again, if a patient is willing and has the resources. Another one is vitamin D.
Yes.
And yeah, most of us know that vitamin D is very important for bone health, and our spondyloarthritis patients have a higher risk of fracture. And because we're a little bit less mobile and may not be able to exercise as well as non-spondyloarthritis patients, I think taking some regular vitamin D is a good habit. And the most frequently recommended dose that I employ is 1,000 international units of vitamin D3 a day. There are some of these mega doses and other strategies. We get most of our natural vitamin D from the sunlight through conversion through our skin. But of course, in Southern California, we probably get a little bit too much sunlight and ultraviolet radiation. And I think, therefore, a vitamin D supplement or certain foods that are high in vitamin D, that's another good strategy.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought, guys. Sorry. We're about done, so we can wrap up here.
Sure.
One question I have, maybe we should start a research piece of research on water. I would love to see that. I think it would be a really interesting study. Not sure how you do it, but I think there might be something there. So I am so grateful you joined us today. Do you have any closing thoughts or inspirational words to drive hope in the community?
Well, yeah, I think that there's so much reason for optimism in the world of spondyloarthritis. It's not just these wonderful medicines that keep coming out. There are investigational trials. I'm involved with some of them here at in Fontana. The world is moving very, very quickly. Science is building at massive amounts. It seems like almost daily. The wonderful researchers that we have in rheumatology are exploring so many facets of inflammation and how to break that cycle and to get our patients feeling better and more functional to live a very fulfilling and happy life. And this tiny slice of integrative medicine, I think, only adds to the hope and optimism that we have. What else can we do on top of the medicines? What can I do to make myself feel better, in the words of so many of our patients that have asked me this? And once again, when you're looking at the benefit risk ratio, there really is no risk to getting a weight a little bit healthier, to eating good, healthy foods with less additives. There's really no harm in taking a little bit extra vitamin, not overdosing on them, but to laughing and to enjoying our communities, be it the Spondylitis Association of America or a support group, or even the community of the medical clinic, the wonderful medical assistant I have, and leaning on your doctor, maybe even drinking plenty of water. I think there's very little harm in drinking plenty of water. I think there we already did the study. Drink plenty of water. Stay hydrated.
Drink plenty of water. It's
Yeah.
checkmark there. Okay,
Eat
great.
well. All right.
Well, thank you so much for your commitment to this community. I know you make a positive impact on a lot of people's lives through your work. So, and I know the Spondylitis Association of America is grateful for you as well and the work you do with us. So, uh, Dr. Lee, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing what comes next for you.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Jill, and the very thought-provoking questions. I hope I answered them well and helps out some of our patients out there.
You did great. SpondyCast was made possible by donations from the Spondylitis Association of America's individual members and the show's corporate sponsor, Antares Capital. Since our founding in 1983, the Spondylitis Association of America has been the face, voice, and leading nationwide nonprofit educating, empowering, and advocating for people living with spondyloarthritis. Through our extensive work with patients, the medical community, and partners, we provide information and resources to help people impacted by the disease live better lives and champion research to find a cure.